right. Yo, 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 what it do, what it do? It's your boy Yellow the Poet, and I am here with Echo, and this group is inspiring, collaborative. They do different projects together, and today we are actually making history on both sides. This is the first time that I have ever done a group interview, and this is the first time they've been interviewed as a group. So this is awesome. This is a remarkable opportunity, and they are doing things worldwide. Each one of them is from different cities and states, and this is amazing. So today we are looking to make history happen. Let's get it. Thank you so much, Debbie, Michaela, Lisa, Amy. I greatly appreciate you all, and welcome, welcome, welcome to YTP Entertainment. So please tell me and the audience what it is that you all do to empower such a group and keep this group going together. Tell me what you all do. Tell the audience.
You want to take that one, Debbie?
Sure. We are a collaborative of speakers that are coming together to empower conversations of hope and opportunity throughout the world. To actually, we each speak on different topics and bring together a collective that you could use and utilize all of them in your own personal life and make a real difference for yourself. But we're mostly wanting to empower you so that you have the tools, so that you have the ability to take charge and take care of your life and move it forward.
So awesome, awesome. I love that. So, Miss Debbie, you spoke that each one of you all speak on different topics. Can each one of you all please tell me what topics you all talk about, and tell me what empowered you to even become a speaker for that particular type of project?
I'll start out. Sure, I'll start out by sharing that the impetus behind each one of us is our lives experiences. And we feel that by sharing, communication is everything. Yes. And sharing our messages, I think, is so essential that we aspire to build worldwide community, less of a feeling of isolation in the world, and sharing all the positive energy of love in every one of our strategies to live a more fully complete and full life and take ownership. So my stance is that first we have to have a perspective or a mindset that our lives matter. Yes. And your life matters, because if I don't believe my life matters, I'm nowhere. It came really to a head when I was sitting alone with a broken shoulder during the pandemic, feeling totally isolated from people, broken society, terrible things going on, inequity, injustice in our society. And my broken shoulder mirrored this broken world, and I had to do something. I had to feel something. I had to shift something. And like all the rest of us who've overcome adversity, I came up with, well, my life matters now. I need to help you know your life matters. And then we're going to make changes through that. So my initiative is, my topic is creating endless joy. Awesome. And that joy comes from within.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. All right, so who we have next?
Lisa, you go.
Okay. So my topic is mainly around play, using humor and gamification. And for me, kind of to what Amy was saying, it happened for me when I was younger. So when I was a kid, I remember playing, and I'm going to date myself here, but I played Miss Pac-Man, and I remember the Atari console. And even as a little one, I remember feeling the power of gaming and how it could bring joy to people's lives. But more than that, though, I found myself fascinated by the idea of using like game mechanics to solve real world problems. So anytime I had an issue, like then I would start making games in order to solve it. So from that moment on, like whenever I had like a challenge or an issue in my life, then I would then try to approach it with the same kind of logic. Like, so using that problem solving logic that I use for playing video games. So what I would do is figure out strategies that work best for me. And then I worked on those skills over time. And then that just grew stronger and stronger. I went through college, I did the same thing. And then my curiosity expanded and I wanted to become an expert in gamification. And I used it in my work, mainly for people when I was teaching, having people that weren't paying attention. Like I used it as a way to engage. But again, it all started with Miss Pac-Man, and I still love that game to this day.
Oh my goodness, I love that game myself. So I guess I'm telling my age too.
It's okay. We're all young at heart, right?
Yes.
It's just a number, y'all. Come on.
A number that tells the amount of experience that we have in life.
That's right. Debbie, you're up. Answer the question, girl. Miss Alice in Wonderland.
Thank you. I speak about making the impossible possible in your health. And that came to me not by choice. No one chooses to be sick, and no one knows how to be sick. We're not taught how to be sick.
Yes.
And I went into medicine to learn how to take care of yourself and to help other people. And then I found myself sitting on the curb with no one wanting to help me during the opioid crisis.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to take charge for myself and take all my knowledge and put it to work. And I discovered that we're born with an endocannabinoid system, something that most of us don't realize, and everybody needs to understand how to engage and use that. So I speak about how to take charge of your own health and be your own health quality advocate, and giving you the tools to do that. And no one lives your health but you or your life. So shouldn't you be in charge?
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That is so true. Awesome. All right, Miss Debbie, we're ready for you. Not Debbie, Miss I'm sorry, Miss
Michaela.
Michaela, I'm sorry.
For me, mine comes from really an entire life experience, because I've always called it 38 Triple D, and it has to do with what encompasses that. By the age of 38, what I went through, lifelong disability of legal blindness, then divorce at 26 from an interesting first marriage, and then the third D being that after my divorce, I met a wonderful man, and he was the love of my life, and we lost him in 2017 by the age of 38. So I found myself spring of 2017, nowhere where I wanted to be, disabled, widowed, and two small children at the time. They're now 12 and 9, but they were 3 and 6 at the time. And out of that, I have had to utilize over and over again, but more so ever than before in this season of my life, my strategy for getting through life and all these obstacles and overcoming something I call finding grace through grief, that has 5 keys to it. And I won't go into that because there's plenty of other stuff we could talk about. But I think what you've just seen through all 4 of us speaking to our own individual messages, we all have something that is empowering that we can share, which is why I feel like communication, as they have said as well, and the echoing our individual messages to the world, because we have stories and we have messages, and there's reasons why we're given our individual stories and messages to empower and help others. And even though we're unique individuals, as you see, although very different places in life for very different reasonings and stories, they still align with the same thematic and message of we need to show people how they can empower themselves so they can have hope and opportunity through conversation.
Yes, yes, indeed. A lot of people do not understand how powerful communication is, and they may understand that we need to communicate, but how we communicate is actually a little bit more powerful than the necessity to communicate, because we could understand that we need to communicate, but not understanding how to communicate can be more controversial rather than being a benefit or a help to someone, including ourselves. because communication first starts with our thoughts, what we think of ourselves, what we think of other people outside of ourselves or other things outside of ourselves are typically what shapes or molds what we allow to come out of our mouths. And when we understand that we cannot allow things to come out of our mouths inappropriately or understand someone else's situation before we allow things to come out of our mouths, then our lives get better because we understand. That's where things actually make a change or start to make a change, because now we're giving other people the opportunity to understand us, and we're giving ourselves the opportunity to understand others.
So which plays into what Amy said, so about life matters and how you see that. So I think those tie together very well. You're absolutely right.
Awesome. Yes, indeed. So,
well, I also think it's important that everybody understands, and this is one of the messages that I carry forward, is that everyone is important and everyone matters. We may have extremes, but when we meet and we accept our uniqueness, but look into who they are, we can find commonality, and that's really important.
Yes, indeed. That is very important. When we strip away the color of people, the nationality of people, the differences in people, we come to a conclusion that people are people and people live here. People are a part of society. People are what makes society. It's not about race, color, creed, nationality, or anything. It's about people. Once we understand that humanity is what brings us together, it's not about what color we are, who we are, and all of the differences that make up that one person. It's about humanity. When we strip away all of these titles and colors and things of that nature, and we realize that we are humans, I think that we'll be able to get along a lot better.
I think we're all committed here and expressing our commitment to empathy in every one of our lives. And the communication begins with empathy. I know, and I was in the high school English and journalism classroom for 33 years. And I know that poetry was often a means of expression to motivate and to empower my students. And I would like to just indulge the first 10 lines of the poem that says why we're all here.
Please.
In making history together, side by side. And it's called The Person Sitting Next to You. The person sitting next to you is the greatest miracle and the greatest mystery, a unique universe of experience teeming with possibilities and needs, laughter and fears, hopes and tears, all struggling to find expression. The person sitting next to you is suffering to become someone, to own a story and a song, to be known and to know.
Hey, this is our round of applause for poetry. Most definitely.
Well, I've listened to you on YouTube, and I know you're a man of our own heart, from the beautiful. And I have to mention, I was broken and coming out of that isolation, and I was watching about what was going on with George Floyd on the.
Oh my goodness!
I was just as outraged. I heard your tribute, and I was, the seed of our initiatives come from so many places of where Debbie wants to see people live their best health possible. Michaela wants to see everybody with so many multiple challenges thriving and not surviving, but thriving. And you don't know this, but shy little Lisa over there is a comedian, and she knows how to get a group. Well, I haven't met you in person yet, so I don't know. She's very polite on screen. On camera, she's very polite. But I know that she uses humor. She knows how to tickle people into a perspective and a reality and gamemanship, teamwork. And, you know, we all have a certain magic, and it's about discovering our magic and helping other people discover theirs.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I love what you said about people are people, because if we think about, if we go and watch, like my daughter's in daycare right now. So if you go and watch kids, like they don't associate color. Like they just play with anybody. They don't discriminate. They call them by their name. They're not like, oh, I played with a brown boy today, or a purple kid, or a yellow kid. Like people are people. Yeah. And I think if we can just, and that's the kind of same thing with play and humor and gamification and all that kind of stuff. If we could just all go back to our childhood and act like 5-year-olds again,
yes,
it would solve all these world problems.
Yes.
In my mind, this is what's happening.
I don't know if they still make them anymore, but when I was in college, and that was back in the 90s, so I'm dating myself too, it was 97, 2001, there was this poster in one of my roommates or one of my suite mates' room that said, everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. I was like, if we would just do the basic crap that we were taught as toddlers and preschoolers, and actually as adults, like how much, it's kind of like what you were saying, Lisa, I'm like, how much easier, you know, if we just did those basic things, even though it, you know, as an adult, it's on kind of a more macro versus micro level as 5-year-olds, but you know, I wonder if the world would work better, you know, y'all. I mean, come on.
Yes.
It's actually pretty cool because we have a saying, and the only place I've ever heard it was in Chicago, and we say that usually for one, my grandmother said this to me. She said, you don't know how smart a person is until they open their mouth. And the other thing is children are tainted. They don't come out with the biasness, the hatred, the dislike, or any of that. Those things are taught to them. And if we could, as parents, as adults, as open-minded people, stop teaching our children these things, then they will continue to grow up without these things, becoming and being better people. Because they already realize that we're just people. We're not anything different. No one's better than the other one. We're people.
You have to have a poem about that's called People Are People. I'm sure you have something written in your...
That is definitely an interesting concept. And I think I'll actually write something about that. That sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Let us know.
Yeah.
Spread it.
Most definitely.
I don't know if y'all know this, and for anyone that's musically inclined, I think that's why one of my favorite songs of all time was by Sly and the Family Stone, Everyday People. I think that's why I've always liked it, because it touches on that, if y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, indeed. I think that's kind of what inspired John Legend with his Everyday People, was I think that's kind of what inspired him to write the song. And that's pretty cool. That is really pretty cool that someone would think about even writing something like that. Everyday people, and talking about how society is filled with people and how everybody is different, but at the same time, we recognize each other as people. That is awesome.
Great.
So tell me, how is it that you utilize your gift individually to empower other people? What do you say to inspire them?
My gut reaction to that is, it's not just what we say, but what we do. As we have to model empathy, and we have to speak those words that we want to leave as a legacy and a model for our children. There's a song, I think, in South Pacific, you've got to be taught to hate and fear, and hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. There's a song that the children are being made aware of. So we say that there's hope. We say that there are strategies. We say that there are ways to not only it starts with listening to others, listening, and listening. They say that's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We listen, and listen. And from that listening, I find we discover ourselves. We just discover, as you said, the commonalities we share, that we're all everyday people.
Yes.
And through the self-discovery, we then learn we're going to be grateful to this person and express our gratitude. And I say to people, express that gratitude now, write to them, send it now, share it now, because it's going to fend off bullying effects of despair. It's going to prevent suicides. It's going to make people more productive at work. And it's going to build self-esteem that each one of us, as a colleague, as a parent, as a worshiper, whatever community we're in, we're going to generate more gratitude for each other, and we're going to create a legacy of love, a legacy of joy. Lisa and I, acknowledged talking recently, a circle of joy. It's never ending.
Yes.
And that not only through our written expression of love and gratitude to each other, but we don't say, you're great, I love you. We have to say why, because this is what you've done for me. This is how we've interacted. This is the impact you've had that you didn't even know. And that can be done teacher to child, to student, parent to child. It can be done to your residency doctor over you. As a matter of fact, courses are being taught at NYU called the Empathy Project. There's curricula now around the country teaching empathy. Why?
That is awesome.
It's our job. It's our job.
Yes. Yes. All right, Ms. Lisa.
And I think for me, what I like to do first is establish, first of all, show that I'm having fun. And I'm being me and I'm being authentic. And I think that draws people in. And then I'm creating a safe and supportive environment where then the individuals that are part of the group that I'm in are exploring new possibilities. Then they're willing to kind of let loose and bring out their own uniqueness through, what we're doing, play, using their own humor, things like that, their creative side to solve problems. So just making sure that they feel safe and then they trust, because if they don't feel safe, they're not going to let their guard down. And I think that's what helps in like work situations. A lot of times people don't feel like they're themselves, or they can be who they really are. And then they can be as a creative because they're just trying to get their job done. But once you work on a group in that environment, things start to change and people open up. And that's when the real change happens. And it's just a joy to watch. I hate to use your word, Amy, but yes, that's what it is.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Go ahead, Michaela. I'll take it last.
Okay. As far as I know, like from my standpoint, where I'm coming from in life, I think I agree with everyone here. It's through action. I heard a long time ago something said in church that I'd rather see a sermon any day of the week than read a sermon or listen to a sermon. And I can't say what the world may see through what I do. And people have asked me, what do you think because like I said, I have 2 children. What do you think your children are seeing? I say, well, I hope after watching their mother who's disabled and probably most of their life will remember more of me as a single mom than, unfortunately, and as much as it hurts my heart, then they'll remember of their time with their father because they were so young when he died. But in those years of when we were a family of 4, but they see me doing, like, I didn't quit. I didn't stop. I never have. I was raised to never give up, never stop, and never quit. And basically, for lack of a better term, sit back and hold my beer and watch. You tell me no, it probably pretty much means I'm going to do it. I've done things through, in my perspective, God's grace and hard work and determination that I should have probably never done, having a disability and the type of disability I've had my whole entire life. The medical field did a really good job of scaring the crap out of my parents about what I would or wouldn't be able to do or whatnot. And so I hope they're watching and paying attention to what their mom's doing. And then for other people in my life, I hope they're paying attention. And then if nothing else, then I'm sharing that wisdom and that truth and that story and that message and echoing what I've learned. I don't have all the answers. I don't solve all the problems, And I'm still trying to figure some stuff out for myself on my own journey, but I can share what it is to overcome that. If you choose to be a victor and not a victim, and you want to be empowered, this is what it takes to do it. And I've done it. I've done it once, I've done it twice, and I'm still doing it. So that's what I know.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And the way that I do this is I first want to let everybody know that I advocate for your health, because it's your health that's the most important, because without quality of health, you can't live a quality of life. So that's the first thing you need to recognize. But I teach you how to listen and understand your own self and your own body. Because if we can't understand our own selves and listen to ourselves, I don't know how we listen to other people. And I found this to be true when it comes to health and understanding your health. And so actually learning to be your best person is when you're your best to everyone else, and when you can do your best for everyone else. So actually taking charge and doing that is a plus for you and a plus for everybody around you. So I think that's really important.
Yes.
To do that.
Yes, indeed. One thing that I've learned in life is that when people start to express themselves and they talk about situations that they've had in life, things that they've overcome, and things of that nature, is that we develop a testimony. And with that testimony involves feelings, that testimony involves passion, it involves experience and things of that nature. So my next question is, for each of you, when you're giving your testimony, what type of feelings or emotions are you going through as you're giving your testimony?
My testimony starts with my very birth. My only sibling had Down syndrome. So my testimony is that I grew up with a person who created joy everywhere she went, with such simplicity and grace, and in a world of her own of happiness and joy, and she would spread it to others. Awesome. And great empathy was shown to my sister through her development. So my testimony is that I am who I am because of the impact and influence, because her life mattered, and it made and created for me a life of gratitude. And when we mirror what we share in common with others, only gratitude comes from that, and we celebrate the other person. So my sister is no longer with us. She lived to a remarkable 73 years of age.
Ooh, wow, nice.
And my parents had a group funeral policy on her since birth, because she wasn't even expected to live. So I've seen such possibility that the testimony is all we have to do is look around us and recognize it then in ourselves and celebrate it. And your life matters. That's the message we all share. So own it, and let's have the best world we can.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Love it.
My testimony is, don't be afraid to be who you truly are. And for me, something Amy said earlier, and she said, oh, shy Lisa. I'm not shy now, but I was shy when I was a kid. And I was shy because I was bullied. So that was one of the problems I dealt with. And because I was different, like I looked different than the other kids. So I was a little heavier as a kid. And back when I was in school, there wasn't a lot of overweight kids. Like most of the kids were at a normal weight. And so I stuck out. I was taller. So there were some things that they could make fun of. And one individual made fun of me. So I was afraid to be who I truly was. But what I did at home was I would tell these knock-knock jokes every night at dinner. So I'd be making up my own games, and then I'd be telling these knock-knock jokes. So I'd be doing these things I love. But then when I went to school, I hid. I was somebody else. And then it took me years until, like, when I got into high school, I came out of my shell and I was not shy anymore. And I was like a different person. And then to this day, I'm not that shy person, but I always remember, don't be afraid to be, and I call myself weird sometimes. I'm probably not weird. I'm just unique, but don't be afraid to be who you really are. Yes. And so no matter what, and I wish I would have I mean, even though my parents were telling me just be you, I still, like, at a young kid, it's hard when you go to school and you're bullied by somebody telling you there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just different. So even if you're different, be you and rock it, rock the difference.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And I love how Lisa talks about that, because being you is the one thing I try to teach and help you understand the most, because I was bullied as well as Lisa was, but I was bullied because I was a redhead.
Oh.
So, I believe that we all get bullied. I don't think any of us are unique in that. I think teaching your children that you will be bullied and how to address it and how to approach it is much better than not addressing it. But the one thing that I bring with my testimony is I've lived this life. I've lived a life of chronic illness, chronic pain, and not any doctor being able to provide me with the results or the benefits that I needed. I found myself not having the help that I needed. And when I took charge myself is when my life changed. And when I was able to bring about the change that has given me the life to be able to sit here and talk to everyone today. I've eliminated 28 pharmaceuticals and taking charge of my health by, engaging my endocannabinoid system. So I want everyone to know that they are unique. There is no one here that is identical to someone else. Our bodies are our own identity. And we need to understand that and learn how to engage that. And then when we do that, we can engage with the world.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Beautifully said. Ready for you, Miss Michaela, I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's no big deal. As far as my testimony, it comes from simply just doing everything I've always had to do and finding a way. I can't change my vision, and there's some things I'll never be able to do. Like, I would imagine every here on this call would agree, driving and legal blindness are two things that should not go together. It's not good for money. Okay, let's don't go there. We're not doing that. But I mean, aside from things like that I can't change, I've learned that you may not be able to move the mountain, but if you decide to and choose to, you can find a way around it, up it, or under it to make it happen what you want to. So I believe a strong part of my testimony is, in life, we have a choice. You can be defined by it, or you can define it for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. So let me share my testimony. Just like three of you had stated, I too was also a part of that whole bullying thing. I used to have these two young boys that would always come jumping on me, and I didn't know them at all. I knew nothing of these two guys. I've never seen them before, never interacted with them. They just used to pick me out of a crowd of students. They were older, and they picked me out of a crowd of students to be the one that they wanted to jump on. It was crazy because for a little while I was afraid, but then I started to fight back on my own without anyone of my family members or anybody telling me to fight back. I just started to fight back on my own. And when I finally started to fight back, that's when my life changed and the guys never tried to jump on me again. It's crazy because I was raised by my grandparents, and I was one of those people that was actually born at home on the kitchen table. It's funny because my mom couldn't make it to the hospital, so we had a midwife, and we had all of the medical team right there in my grandmother's living room. And my grandmother got to be the first person that I saw once my eyes were cleared out and all that good stuff. And this is my mom's mother. Then after being raised by my mom's mother and my great-grandmother up until I was the age of 5, my great-grandmother had passed away just before I turned 5. My other grandma had passed away shortly after I turned 6 years old. Then I was raised by my father's mother from there on up until my early adulthood. And it's crazy because my grandmothers all have instilled something in me And the joy of it is I come from a powerful Native American background. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, you're Black, so you'll be okay." But no, I'm not born of a Black background. Even though I do have some Black in me, I came from a strong Native American background with 4 different types of Native American, and it's been a struggle because a lot of people identify me as one thing when I'm really a multitude of things. So being a mutt it's tough sometimes because people look at you and they try and figure out who or what you are as opposed to just trying to figure out who you are. Forget about the what. And a lot of people refuse to try to forget about the what. They just want to focus on the what and not focus on the who. Sad, but
that's true. I mean, if you could just put your 5-year-old goggles on,
yes,
I like to say, and look through those lenses, because you have such a powerful story there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
You can't judge a book by its cover. You never know.
That's true. That's true. And
and if you work in the medical field and we take away the cover, we're all the same on the inside. So that's the thing that I think that is so beautiful. And that's how I try to look at people is, from the inside out.
Exactly.
Because that's how we learn who each other is when we can do that.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
Another good quote.
That is
people
awesome.
are people inside out.
That is true. So I was reading about you all having something to do with platforms that provide empowerment, engagement, and self-exploration, advocacy, ownership, thriving, joy, and play. Tell me, how does each one of you all give back to society using those tools?
I do it through volunteer work and support groups, health support. I too overcame a very debilitating chronic illness for many years. And, again, I said in the beginning, we come from our experiences, and I strongly feel that just by being a giving, compassionate, empathetic member of our communities, whatever community we're in, that's how we live our message.
Awesome. I love it, Amy.
And for me, I pretty much my life is a game. So everything I do, I think in a game, it's a game to me. Like if I'm trying to get my daughter to brush her teeth, or if I'm brushing her hair, she complains it hurts, I'll say, let's count to 10, or let's count to 10 in Spanish. She can count to 10 in Spanish better than I can. So there's different games. And then as Amy was saying, the volunteer part, I do a lot of volunteer work as well. And one of the things I find myself consistently doing is anytime they have a problem, I'll be like, well, let's play a game, or how about I come and do a skip for you? Like I'm always trying to do some type of play to get their juices flowing, to get the creative so they can solve the problem. But I find that those 2 elements are something that always surfaces.
Awesome.
I'm always there ready to help the person that wants to improve their health and life. I volunteer a lot of time in doing that. I also create a newsletter to put information out to encourage and help people have the tools to be able to do it. I believe that I just love people. And I think learning from people and engaging with people is how we all learn. So I'm always taking time to sit down. I always say, if you sit down and have coffee with me, you would think we've known each other for a very long time, because I just think that it's just great to be able to sit down and open up a conversation and learn about a person. Yes. So my door is always open to learn and to explore and to help you be able to become your best health advocate, or just whatever you might need in your life. My sister used to always say, you'll just bring anybody home stray no matter what. And I said, you're absolutely right, because we all need someone and we always need help. Yes, and when we do it together, it is always better.
Yes, indeed. I agree.
I feel like for me, I do it through doing what I do, and I do serve when I can and help when I can. Sometimes it's an issue, transportation and getting there. I always say I'll do it if I can find me a way there. You know, it's not that my yes isn't on the table, but it's how do I get there? All jokes aside, but help out where I can at church, or you know, I'm helping a girlfriend with her missions projects. I don't necessarily go on missions, but I contribute. I feel like I contribute through my writing and hopefully speaking, and then I feel like, you know, we all contribute in our own individual ways, but I think y'all would agree with me that collectively, as we're going down this path of creating Echo, and what we're going to be doing through Echo is in a way of in of itself and its own entity and right is contributing and helping, because we're getting our message out and our vision out and our purpose out of empowering others so that they can help themselves and then go on and help others. And it's like kind of that ripple effect of just sending out ways of influence to make a difference, and opening those doors through conversation to walk through those doors to make change. So
that is awesome. I love it. I love the way you all are expressing the ways that you help out and give back to society. It's a blessing to have so many people at one time doing this. So tell me, how did you all come up with the concept of ECHO? And is it an acronym, or is it just you all's name? What's your mission?
ECHO stands for Empowering Conversations of Hope and Opportunity. And let us not lose the moment right now. Awesome. We are, in essence, demonstrating, we're living, we're modeling, we are having a conversation. And that's the crux of everything we've said. In having this conversation, something you read in our description resonated with you. Yes. And you felt a kinship to us, and you honored us and recognized us. This is what the beginning lines of that poem is all about. Awesome. You saw us, you saw our struggle, you gave us our first chance for a group podcast, and it's been so hilariously wonderful. And so we're modeling it to your whole audience and empowering them by the conversation. When we put on our summits, we are not going to be talking heads, talking at people, lecturing them. This is the gospel. I found it. I did it. You can do it too. Yay, America. You know, we're talking. We're getting the conversation and the dialogue going. Yes. And you have helped us, you know, put the fire in it and ignited it. And this is exactly what we're doing, igniting conversations of hope and opportunity.
This is awesome.
Well, Amy answered the question. We can all go home now, apparently. We're done.
Other parts to it. Okay, so it is.
Please, did I leave anything out? Did I leave anything out?
I'm just
you left out one thing. You left out one thing.
It's the title. It is our title, but she did just. It is a title. Yes, it's one word. But if you break it down into an acronym, like she said, that is exactly correct. That's how we came up with ECHO, was empowering conversation and hope and opportunity. But how it came about was Debbie and I were talking about, this is what we want to do. What are we going to call it? And she's like, well, I did this for this. You can explain it, Debbie. I forget. I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm an author, so I'm always thinking about words. I'm like, wait a minute. Her letters of ECHO that she did for her own thing. I'm like, wait a minute, we could take that and make it work, because we're echoing messages, and we just had like this major crazy like bursting brainstorm, and we changed what she already was doing to make it applicable to encompass and embody what we're doing, and we just changed what the letters, the words that were behind those letters, and then did ECHO and came up with that. And that's kind of our anchor statement that spurred our vision statement, that spurred our mission statement. Like Amy said, we're embodying it now. So there you go.
That is awesome.
Well, and I think that echoing our voices and our mission and our processes around the world are what are so important. It really doesn't matter necessarily what those each words stand for, as long as we're sharing a good, positive message that empowers people to be in charge of their own life and their own space. Mm-hmm. And so it's the echo part that, you know, it's like echo, echo, echo. It needs to ripple all across the world. And, you know, that is the thing that for me, yes, I use this in other ways, but it's very important because I believe you need to have the power yourself. And if we share these messages, we can send that out.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And one thing that I can say that I kind of mimic from Miss Lisa is the humor part, because I like to add humor to pretty much any and everything that I do. So here we go. I'm going to make an attempt, Miss Lisa. I get to be the only male in the room with a bunch of women. You know how some guys, they always applaud themselves for being in a group of women. They try to look at that in many different ways, but I'm looking at it in this way. I'm the only male in the room where women get to echo their testimonies, their ways of giving back to life, their empowerment of women, because that's something I'm a true advocate of. They get to do all of these wonderful things, and I get to be that male that gets to reciprocate, ask questions, and get to learn and understand more about four women at one time, four beautiful women at one time, rather than having to go outside and figure it out.
Drop the mic. I love it.
So I love it. I love it. So I was reading something else too. You said, how can we talk openly about our challenges and have a positive impact on mental health and well-being? How can you all actually do that and still be impactful? That's powerful to me.
It's about putting love back in our environment. I read that somewhere. You've said it yourself, correct? In your book?
Yes, I am.
I love the title, Redeem Love. That's what we're trying to do. So it's about putting it out there, living it, and just knowing we're responsible. Joy doesn't come from outside us. It comes from within us. And once we know that, that's when all the good stuff really starts.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I agree with you 100%.
And go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You're fine. Go ahead, Ms. Debbie.
I definitely believe that everybody has pain and suffers, and we are not hearing them, and we're not acknowledging the pain and suffering that's going on. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the things that I think that we have to address, and that we need our messages to come across so clearly, because we hear you, we understand, and we want to know how we can address and help you with that pain. Mm-hmm. Because we all know there's a huge problem with suicide in our country.
Sure.
And that's something I take very seriously, because I've walked close to that edge myself. Mm-hmm. And people don't think that I can be there. I promise you, I never thought I could be there. But if you're not addressing the pain that is bothering you today, and it can be physical or mental, I don't separate the two. They're both powerful and they're both important. Mm-hmm. And so being able to share that message and show you that there is a different way, you have to be willing to look at change. If you're unwilling to look at change, you're going to shortchange yourself in life. Mm-hmm. And there are people out there that are willing to help you. Reach out.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So true.
I think that's a huge part of the puzzle, is some people feel like they're alone, and you really don't have to be alone, even though you feel like you're the only one, or that you are alone in this, when you don't have to be, like Debbie was saying, reaching out. And that can be a big piece of the puzzle of the starting place, because then you feel like you're not going it alone, and then you're not on your own trying to solve this huge whatever you feel like you're facing, when you have someone coming alongside you that can either encourage you or support you or give you compassion and empathy and love, or support or help you. Sometimes when you're in it, you're so clouded by whatever you're in that you can't think through, what could I actually do to kind of break through? And then if you have someone that's on the outside of the actual issue but coming alongside you, then they say, well, we could try, like, two heads are better than one type thing. Mm-hmm. Like, they can offer you things and like, oh, okay, and then maybe it's not hopeless anymore, and then you see the opportunity. Anyway, I don't know. So you're not alone in things.
Yes, and I think it's about like what I was saying earlier about the safe and supportive environment, having somebody feel safe and supported. That's when they open up, let their guard down. And then the other thing is, I always say, what would your 5-year-old self do? So like, take yourself back. How would you act? Like, would you play a game of eeny, meeny, miny, mo? I still do. I was caught red-handed playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo as an adult in a picking out a different what I wanted for dinner. Like I was like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a, like I sang the whole thing, and like some lady walks by and she's like, oh, that's a weird woman. And I'm like, no, I'm just fun. Like, whatever, lady, keep going. She didn't want to play games for a living. I'm having a good time. I still do it. That's how I make tough decisions. I'll eeny, meeny, miny, mo it.
Well, Lisa, contrary to popular belief, I actually do the same thing, and I kid you not. If it's something that I feel like I have a multitude of things, I'm gonna go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then I'm going through the whole process. Can't you talk about it? So I'm going through the whole process before I figure out which one I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna dress, whatever it is that I can't figure it out. I actually go through that whole process, and my wife sit up there and she'll laugh at me.
Yeah.
And after a while, which was funny, she actually started doing it too. So
doesn't it take the pressure off? It's like you don't feel any pressure anymore.
It does.
It's also hard. It's challenging. It's stressful. So why not add some fun to it? And like Lisa loves to do it, make it easier. I mean, come on.
Yes, indeed. And I'm silly. I am totally silly. I have people at my job cracking up, laughing at me, and it's so cool because you know how like early in the morning, a lot of people are so groggy and they're like, I didn't want to get up this early in the morning. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do that. Well, here I come at 6 o'clock in the morning, walking through the door, looking around like, so this person is here. This person is here. That person is here. All right. Awesome. And I remember the last thing that you did before we actually went home. So now I'm going to crack a joke on that first person. That's going to be my first victim. I'm cracking a joke on you first. And as soon as I do that, then it's like everybody else in the whole room just lights up. Now we're all cracking jokes. And before we can actually go out to actually, because I'm a trainer for school buses. So we practice safety and do all the safety rules and safety practices and everything. So when I get them out there, they're like, everybody's got this big old smile on their face, laughing, and we've been doing all this joking. I kid you not, it's so crazy because it's within literally a good 10 minutes before everybody actually starts to go out. And then when they come back in, they're feeling the pressure from all of the children, the parents, the driving. It's just so many different things that took place once they come back in. And then here I am, starting all over again, doing the same thing. And then they'll tell me, man, you just don't know how much you brighten this place up. You light this place up. And I literally do it from the corporate managers all the way down to the regular bus drivers. And some of them will come in and they'll look and they're like, man, I had a day like this, I had a day like that, and then I just crack a joke like, yeah, I had a day like that too. And they look at me like, are you serious, man? Like, I'm trying to be serious right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to be serious too, because, you know, life is all about seriousness. We should all be extremely serious and everybody be angry. We're beating each other up like Vikings. And then they'll look at me, they like, do you take anything serious? I say, yes, I take a lot of things serious, but I refuse to be dull in life.
Yes, it could be seriously funny.
Yes.
I love how you take the last thing that happened the day before and bring it into today and bring today into focus, because I always say I only have today. I don't have yesterday. Tomorrow's not here. Let's enjoy today and let's make the most of it. And I love that you're able to do that and bring people back into the day and open it up that way. I think that's so cool.
Thank you so much. I put up a post yesterday and I was not expecting as much action for that post, but my post said, tomorrow is not promised, so I'm living my best life. And I really did not think that people would respond to it, but they did. And that's how I feel every day.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees. I mean, I always knew that. I did. I mean, you kind of know it and you know it, but you don't know it till you know it. And then, like, I talked about my husband being passed away. It was sudden. Like, he left to go do something and he was like, I'll see you tonight. And he didn't come home again.
Mm.
That was it. So there are no guarantees. There are no promises. And life's too short,
Yes.
man. So, I mean, why not?
So
You got what you got.
he left to go do something. And he didn't say that he was coming back to this particular home, but he did go home. He definitely went home. And now his mission is a little bit bigger than the mission that he had here. So he's definitely doing what he said he was going to do. So one thing you have to definitely look at is he kept his word. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. Only
I actually said that.
Big man stepped in and said, I got something else to add.
I actually said that for the longest time. After John died, his name was John because he was military. I said he's just on a different deployment now. He's on his permanent deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I told myself for a long time, for like the first, I don't know, 90 to probably 120 days. That's what I would tell myself. He's on his permanent mission. He's on his permanent deployment now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And one of the things that we do as Native Americans, a lot of people take passing, or we call it transferring. They take transferring as a sign of sadness, depression, and things of that nature, but we actually take it as a sign of happiness. We actually looking at it as, okay, guess what? This person no longer has all these problems that they used to have. They don't have to worry about any type of ailments, sicknesses, diseases, or anything of that particular nature. And now they can live a happier, younger, and more prosperous life without any of the additives, the preservatives, or any of the unnecessary ingredients that make this life fluctuate as much as it does. They don't have to go through any of that anymore. So what exactly am I being sad about? And we come up to one conclusion. That one conclusion is how much we're going to miss that person. It's not so much as everything else. It's more so about how much we're going to miss that person. And my grandmothers are a prime example because I miss them dearly, but I don't miss all of the trouble that they had when I seen them. The health issues, the ailments, I don't miss any of that. I just miss seeing them and being able to come to them and talk to them and get that confirmation for certain things that I didn't understand in life. That's the part that I miss. So once we understand that it's not a sad thing, it's actually a beautiful thing. And I tell you, what really gave me an epiphany is when I watched The Lion King. And The Lion King, I forgot his name. The king told Simba, he said, it's all a part of the great circle of life. The lions eat the other animals. The animals go back into the soil. And then the other animals eat the soil, get healthy, and it just over and over again, that same cycle. So I feel like this being that great circle of life, we're living that great circle of life. And what we give back to that great circle of life is what we feed the new and upcoming people in this circle of life. And they manifest what we feed, just like we're manifesting what was fed to us from generations and generations before us.
That's
very well put.
Thank you so much. So much. So one of the things that I want to ask too is, how is it that individually, how is it that you as a person have come into the changes in your life as of now versus how you lived before you started to become a part of Echo and wanting to talk to people, talk out your situation, give your testimonies before you started to do all these things? How do you feel now versus how you felt before you started?
It's a whole transformation, I can tell you that. At 65, as I am today, you know, I've seen a lot of things happen in our world and gone through a lot of processes. Mm-hmm. But I think the one thing that is the most powerful that I've gone through is learning to rely on myself and to understand myself. Mm-hmm. And knowing who I am, I can look in the mirror now and I'm very happy with who I am. Being teased as a kid for being a redhead, I grew up saying, oh, I can't wait till I can dye my hair. It will never be red again. And of course, by the time I got old enough to do that, I learned to embrace it and love it because it was my uniqueness and I learned to understand that. But, you know, when I was laying in a hospital bed fighting for my life, and I did not recognize the medical community around me and they weren't willing to really help me because of the opioid crisis, and they said, we can't. Mm-hmm. I made a promise then and right there when I was back conscious and knew what was going on. And I said, I will do whatever I can to make sure that no one finds themselves here again. This is too important. You need to be in charge of your health and you need to be guiding it. You need to partner with a medical professional. They need to be a partner. They don't need to be the only one that you're handing your health over to guide. Mm-hmm. And so I'm so thankful today that I have the opportunity to wake up every day and share this message and empower people to take charge.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
For me, a lot of it wasn't that drastic a change in that I see a continuum of influences. I was always a patient child. I was a little bit in the shadow sometimes of my sister's disability and the attention on her. And but I see the values of my family, of my sister, of my mother instilled in me. I think the biggest change is that when my aunt was approaching 102, I had, and the elders in our lives, as in yours, are so important. We take the best from them and the worst from them, and we learn. So when my aunt turned 102 that year, I turned 72. That was 3 years ago. And I said to my aunt, well, Aunt Minna, and she remembered me as an infant. I said, you're 102, I'm 72. I'm on the 30-year plan. and that's the biggest shift in that the last few years, and by the grace of God, meeting such wonderful kindred spirits and having an opportunity like today, it's like feeling like I'm starting all over at 30 in the classroom, and there's so many more people to reach, and it's more of an immediacy, urgency, and aggressiveness and assertiveness that I didn't have before, and now is the time. So it's going to happen because it's happening right now with all of you as comrades on this mission. And we got a lot. We've got to change. A lot we've got to improve every day. It's too sad. It's too demoralizing. And if we don't start the day with a smile and a joke, we're defeated before we even get the feet out of the bed.
That's so true.
Yeah, like Amy said, it's a mission. It's almost a calling. And I think for me, my change happened in 2014 when I had a brain tumor. And it was 3 months before I was getting married. And they were like, listen, I'm like, can you just wait until after the wedding? And the surgeon's like, no. And I'm like, I can't be a bald bride. You know, that was my main concern, not whether I'd live or die. It was about the baldness. But anyway, the surgeon said, no, you can go, you know, we need to do this 3 months before. So we did it. And I played all these games, brain games, I call them, to heal. And then I made like everything for the wedding. I started making a game out of. I got married, didn't have the hair I wanted, had some hair, wasn't completely bald. So that worked out. But what happened to me was transformative, because I said to myself when I woke up after the surgery, like, thank God I'm alive. First of all, they removed this brain tumor. But then how do I live my life with no regrets moving forward? And that's what I promised myself. Anything I wanted to do, I would do. I wasn't going to have this voice in my head telling me not to do it. And then it became kind of like my mission in life to continue forward and have no regrets. So do all these things. Don't be afraid to do something. Just do it. And that's kind of what the whole play theme teaches people is don't be afraid, play.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's what we all want to do. People are afraid to do it. They're like, no, tomorrow. I'll play that game tomorrow. You can play it today.
Yeah, you may not have tomorrow. You better do it today.
Yes, yes, indeed. And the pressure it releases, oh my goodness.
You know, Lisa shares a very poignant episode in her life that didn't stop her. And Michaela said she never gave up. And that's part of it. We don't give up. We don't let anything stop us. And I struggled with a Crohn's disease for all of my life. And it was very debilitating, but I still was in the classroom every day. And I look back, I don't know how I did it, but by the grace of God and prayer and worship and faith underlies everything. I was able to have a life-changing surgery that is so amazing. It's a miracle. It's a true miracle. We've all here experienced miracles, and that's what we want to help people understand, that miracles are possible and we can create these miracles.
Yes,
we do. We have.
Yes,
we're proof.
Yes, indeed. You know, Amy, you remind me of my very first interview on Podmatch. There was a lady that I interviewed, and she was actually helping me to navigate through Podmatch because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was totally lost like a little puppy. But her husband had passed away from cancer, and he was a stage 4 cancer, and she was also dealing with the Crohn's disease. And it was really sad when I was reading her story, but he left behind her, and I could be wrong, but I think it was three children that he left behind. And the daughter was the most touching because she was really, really too young to understand his passing. So she would ask, "Where's my daddy? Where's my daddy?" And her mom would tell him that he went to a place, basically, she didn't say it in these words, but she was basically saying it in a way that he went to a place where he'll never return. But as long as he's in our hearts and in our minds, and we have pictures of him, we will always remember him. So now the children are all adults now, and they understand more about his passing, but now they understand even more about their purpose for being there for their dad, because he was always there for them. Even though he wasn't feeling well, he was always there for them. And he would do things with them. But this last time that he got sick, he really couldn't do anything. So everybody gathered around in the hospital and gathered around his bed, and they all watched him as he took his last breath. And that's something that they all hold on to, and it keeps them together as a family, remembering what happened to him. And the reason why I say, Amy, that you remind me of her is because you both were dealing with the same thing. The difference is her husband passed away due to the cancer, and it was sudden because he was fine, literally all the way up until, I think she said, until he was like 35 or 40. And then he just all of a sudden started getting really, really sick. It was crazy, how she, told the story, but it was something that it was hard for me to forget that, because I think about people in general and the struggles that they battle with throughout their lives. And I think about how it's so important for us to talk about things that happen with us, because for a long time I was quiet. I was that shy person, Miss Lisa. It wasn't until my 8th grade teacher forced me to get up on stage, and recite a poem that I had wrote, which was probably one of many that I had wrote as a little boy. But he was really infatuated with this one poem that I wrote, and he had me to go up on stage when we was having an event in elementary school. And I was super nervous. Oh my goodness. I was nervous. I felt like I was gonna just get rid of all of my food I just ate, and like I was gonna fall, slip and fall on the stage, something. I just felt like something bad was gonna happen. But it turned out that I ended up getting a standing ovation. And although it made me feel good, it was still confusing because I was still kind of feeling nervousness and feeling bad because I wasn't that outspoken person at the time.
Making me think of the scene out of Dead Poet Society that Robin Williams. Do you remember that? Did you watch that movie and remember where he would put the hands over that shy high schooler he had and made him do poetry in front of? It makes me think of that scene.
Oh wow! I wish they would have covered my eyes because I didn't need to see all those people. But one thing I learned though, I spoke with one of the most famous motivational speakers in the world today. I don't know if you all know Les Brown.
Les Brown. I knew you were going to say it. Les Brown. Love him.
I've heard him. He's wonderful. I heard him in person.
Yeah, I actually went up on stage and talked to him right before this event that we were having back in Chicago, because that's where I'm originally from, Chicago. And I asked him, how do you get up on the stage and talk to all these people? I say, that is one thing that I struggle with. And how do you get past the nervousness? He said, well, technically you never get past the nervousness. You just have to get up on the stage and do what you do. And don't think about people not liking what you have to say. Don't think about people critiquing you. Only think about the message that you're trying to convey. And I was like,
so true.
Okay.
True.
But I was so young at the time. I was probably about 18 years old at the time. I hadn't done many performances other than the one in 8th grade at that time. But after that, it was, let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. I'm out there. So you guys, you all are super wonderful. I'm so glad to have actually met you all and got a chance to do this group podcast. I cannot wait to get this out there so people can actually hear your messages. This is awesome. I cannot wait. So give me some key takeaways that each one of you all have that you want the world to understand about you in your message, in your testimony.
I'm going to borrow the words of someone else. I wish I'd written them, but I've lived them. And it's the last 5 lines of the poem that I started before. And this says it all to me. The person sitting next to you is a special human being, a divine creation, no different from you, awaiting your attention and smile. This person is sacred. And that's my testimony.
Hey. Well, thank you for letting us be on your podcast today. And mine, I will say, is go out and play like a kid again. Pretend like you're a 5-year-old. Unleash your creativity and watch how your problems disappear easily.
Oh, awesome. Powerful.
I appreciate you having us on today. Thank you very much. I'm glad we've had this opportunity to speak. I will remind everyone, you have one health, you have one life. No one lives either but you. Shouldn't you be in charge?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. No better power than you.
I will echo what they said and say that I am also equally grateful and honored to have had this amazing opportunity to come together and share our individual but yet collective messages of Echo. And as far as what I would leave your audience with, I would say, as we've discussed already here today, you get one life. it's short. There's no guarantees. So choose well so you can strive to live your best life and thrive in life, and then go do your thing.
Awesome. 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 Wonderful. Wonderful. So please, by all means, ladies and gentlemen, we have Echo here. Please give us an opportunity to find you wherever you are via social media, websites, and things of that nature. Please enlighten us.
Debbie?
Oh, you gotta get me. I've got to pull this up here. I wasn't quite ready. I wasn't ready for that one. You can find us at echotalks.org. That's our website. And then we have Echo Talks, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And they're all under construction except for the website. The website is there. We will be having a virtual summit coming up either at the end of May or around June, hopefully. Stay tuned on that. We hope to share that. But if you would like to get to know more about it, connect with us and we'll get you the information.
Awesome. Awesome.
If it's okay with you, sir, I can send you updates through Podmatch if that would be what you'd be interested in. And we can
be interested in. I will also put my email address in Podmatch in your group so that you all can actually send me updates through the email, and I will definitely send it out to the audience and let everybody else know what you all have going on, because I am so looking forward to learning more and more about you all. This time here has been great. It's just not enough time for me to get all the information I want.
Likewise.
Continued.
Well, always feel free to send us a message and we'll answer any questions that you might have.
No doubt, no doubt. And vice versa. Please feel free. Ask me anything. I'm here. I'm pretty much like an open book, because redeem love is what
So can I ask you one question as we leave?
Sure.
What message would you like to echo to the world?
Hey, my famous message to the entire world is to always, always be oneself. Don't let anybody change that. Don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't let anybody give you ideas on who you are, because nobody can tell you who you are better than you.
Happened.
Awesome.
Thank you all so much, so much. I really appreciate you all. It's your boy YTP Entertainment. It's your boy Yellow the Poet. I am here with Echo. This has been a wonderful, wonderful podcast interview. I look forward to speaking to you all more engagements, and I'm definitely going to send this message out here to the world. Peace and blessings. Thank you all, and we are out of here.